Yeah. So of course, this was a huge pay-per-view. It was the second ranked all time. Almost a full million below Khabib McGregor.
Yeah, takes two to
Um,
get those numbers.
yeah, I know. It takes two plus a dolly through a bus window and a few court dates.
Yeah,
And then we already spoke about it.
that's the thing is like Oliveira's out there making as much noise as he possibly can in the aftermath of this, but like he can only do so much in not being able to speak English. The best he can
I
do is
know,
put an
man. These
Instagram
these
post up. It's like, man, if you were in a Michael Chandler situation, you're calling up Ariel, you're doing a 30-minute interview with Ariel, and you're hitting him with like, here's the facts, like I'm the guy, I'm the only one that you should be fighting. Boom, 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 boom. Oliveira, it sucks. It's the language barrier. He doesn't get to do that. I mean, he
It
can't.
really does suck. It
He
really
just
does
does.
suck that there's that. Yeah. It really sucks that there is that language barrier, but the truth of the matter is there is. And it's not like Oliveira is new to the game. You had fighters like
He,
yeah, Khabib, JDS, Verdum. Like the list goes on and on. These fighters know what they have to do. And Machida,
you know,
there
all
it's
you got
just
to learn is broken English. If you can just learn broken English, we'd love
yeah,
to
man.
do it.
It really sucks that this is how it is, but at the end of the day, it's not like it just we've known
Yeah,
we've known for a decade, maybe even more, that if you can just teach yourself okay English, you will be able to get further in the sport than if you don't speak any at all.
yeah.
And it's going to take way more work and way more like undeniable runs like the one he's on to even get close, man. It sucks that it's true, but it is because you're right. If he could speak English, he could be on. He could be. Well, I mean, I guess he could still. Granted, Ariel for sure would take a
Of course,
call
you can go on there through a
from
translator.
him
He can make it
plus
work,
some
but it's just
guy.
not as convincing, you know.
Yeah, no, of course it's not as convincing because we can't. Yeah, because we can't hear him for ourselves. But yeah, I think we all agree that like the hardcore fans all agree with Charles Oliveira that Dustin Poirier and him is the fight to make
Yes,
for
it
the
is
lightweight
the
belt.
fight for the lightweight belt. It should be the fight to make. Yeah,
It's straight up. It's very simple. There's really not a lot of. You have one guy who's won what? How many in a row has Oliveira won?
seven and the six before Tony were all finishes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Actually, you know what? I still don't think he beats George Soteropoulos' run.
hmm,
George Soteropoulos had like uh he was one of the highest. Him and Jim Miller. Do you
yeah,
remember Jim Miller's run? It
yep,
was like 9 straight.
yep.
Never got a shot. That is nuts. Uh, yeah. So as we spoke about, Nate Diaz, as soon as he's allowed to smoke as much as he wants, he's back, baby.
I think here's the thing. Nate is smart in terms of understanding the sport and understanding matchups. And going into this, before this fight even happened, Nate goes to Dana and is like, "Yo, I'm trying to come back at lightweight. Get me a fight at lightweight against the top guy." Right? Easy to see what's going on in Nate's head. In Nate's head, he's going, "Oh, Connor's coming back. Connor's going to fight Dustin. He's going with Khabib gone. Connor is going to become lightweight champion. Connor owes me another fight. That is my chance to fight for the lightweight belt. I'm going to walk in, get a, Dana said, we're looking at Nate, giving Nate one fight, and he's in the mix, right? So you walk Nate down to lightweight, give him any top five guy, he gets a win, then he goes into Connor for the belt. In his mind, you could tell that's what he was thinking. That's that's a little different now, but it can still work because he has a history with Dustin Poirier, and then when that fight fell out at Madison Square Garden 2 years back. So I think they can still salvage that plan. And I think with Khabib gone, lightweight's a wild town. You throw Nate into that mix. Some fights, I think he gets destroyed bad, but other fights I think are totally enticing to me. Like people forget, recall at one point in time we saw Nate Diaz versus RDA, and RDA slaughtered him
RDA
brutally.
routed him, dude. RDA, like,
RDA
this is the thing.
brutally
Nate
murdered.
Diaz, Nate Diaz is the type of guy, and his brother for this matter as well. The fights where their style works, they look like a world beater. They look like no one's going to stop this guy.
Mhm.
Um, but for everyone else, he doesn't. Nate Diaz has a legacy. He's a legend of the sport, but it takes a specific style matchup for him to seem elite.
Yes.
Tough wrestlers like an RDA. I think a RDA rematch would go the same way.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is the thing, because RDA is now ranked at like number 6 or 7 at lightweight.
yeah,
So it's
I
like,
think I think an RDA rematch would go roughly the same way. I think that he matches up well with certain guys, but in like a fist fight kind of way.
yeah,
Like Michael Chandler, I think Michael Chandler would beat him pretty soundly.
I do too. For me, the interesting matchups for Nate are Gaethje, Dustin, and it doesn't make as much sense now, but still, I would like to see Nate versus Tony, because that was one that was talked about at one point in time. Those three matchups I think are fun. I still think that, like, if we were really looking at a 5 round Nate versus Dustin fight, that eventually Dustin obliterates him. But I'd say that would be
Yeah,
a fun fight early.
it's just one of these things where I just don't. I feel the same way about. Oh Jesus, sorry, audio listeners. I just punched my mic again. Nate Diaz is a guy that, like, really I'm only interested in seeing him in super fights. I have no interest in seeing him or his brother, especially not his brother, but specifically Nate. I have no interest in talking about him in relation to the title picture because I do not trust that he sticks around.
Yeah,
I trust that he makes a lot of money in a fight, but Nate Diaz is beyond just being, again, you can't put that genie back in the bottle. Nate Diaz wants to be a guy who shows up when he needs money, when it's convenient. He fights once and he's gone again.
yeah,
I think that it's a thing that I hope future fighters learn from, like McGregor or or I mean Jones, the way Jones has looked. We'll have to see about him at heavyweight, but the way that the skill gap is closing more and more and more and more, um, you got to get it in while you can get it in.
oh yeah,
Cannot. This is not boxing. It evolves too quick. The ground floor is being repoured and repoured and repoured every day, month, and year. There is no way to rest on your laurels because the skill set is constantly expanding.
yeah,
Nate Diaz is not a modern lightweight. He is not. And I think that we would learn that very quick. So just to rein it back in, what frustrates me about talking about Nate Diaz when it comes to the title picture is that I know for a fact that Nate Diaz ain't that guy. He's not the guy to, well, I'll win this one and I'll win that one and then I'm in a title fight. Or if he loses this bid for like a number one contendership, or like he's just not a guy you can make plans with.
mm,
So it's a little bit uh off-putting to me. Don't get me wrong, I want to see him fight. I'm down to see him fight. But the idea of planning any sort of title picture around Nate Diaz is just a fool's errand.
yeah. Agreed.
Shucks. You know, we talked about the card. There were some middleweight matchup announcements. Um, we had some really cool ones, huh? We have Paulo Costa taking on Robert Whitaker, which more or less we're getting a four-man tournament to see who fights Adesanya when he comes back. Yeah, is that how we're looking at this?
I mean, it is. It's definitely a four man middleweight tournament. I'm not so sold on the Adesanya part, but yes, it is. This is the tournament to determine the elite of middleweight.
Well, my point is, let's say Adesanya he goes up and he does well. We have two dudes, right? Because when does Adesanya takes on Blachowicz?
Early March.
Early March. These four matchups got announced for
Is it March?
later than that or around the same time.
It should be around the same time. I want to say all three of these fights happened like with back to back to back almost.
So you have the possibility that Adesanya.
Here's the best case for me.
I don't
the-
know actually. Now that I'm thinking about my thoughts more.
Yeah,
I thought the timetable would line up a little bit more because I was thinking, you have Vittori Till, which damn,
yeah,
damn, what a great fight. Then you have Whitaker and Costa,
yeah.
and I felt like the winner of those two fights, the winner of the bout between some winners could fight Adesanya if Adesanya wanted to stay busy at light heavyweight.
See, the more I've been going through thinking about this, I feel like it's in everyone's best, not everyone, it's in the fans' best interest for Izzy to lose to Blachowicz because then everything basically goes back to how it needs to be with Izzy back as middleweight champion, Blachowicz at light heavyweight champion, defending the belts against the rightful number one contenders. Because if Izzy wins at light heavyweight, Lord knows what's going to happen. If Izzy wins, I can't say that he's going to. First of all, if it's, I'll tell you right now, I'm leaning towards Whitaker beating Costa. If Whitaker comes out as the number one guy, it's not him. It doesn't matter how many. It doesn't matter that he has 3 wins in a row. Izzy's not fighting Whitaker. He's not going to come back and rematch Whitaker at middleweight because that's the least enticing of all the fights. So that I see as more likely. The winner, I would think possibly the winner of Whitaker Costa versus the winner of Till Vittori for the vacant belt or for an interim belt, potentially, depending on how things shake out. But both those fights are very exciting to me. Costa now has not fought since the Izzy fight. Robert Whitaker's kind of on a roll. He's keeping active because for like those 2 years he was like injured constantly, so we really didn't see him for like a long time.
Mhm.
Now that he's back and active, he's just kind of keeping it rolling. Yeah, I'm excited about both those fights. Excellent, excellent fights, just a week apart. Yeah, middleweight's heating up. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I guess that's what I meant. As far as like the interim title is more or less just a ticket,
It's just the number one contender fight, basically.
just a number because back in the day, um, as more seasoned fans, aka older fans, um, will know the UFC has developed a the UFC the number one mode that they're in at the moment is whatever they can do to be the least accountable to the fighters as possible. That's what they want to do.
Yeah,
So back in the day, we used to have a thing called a number one contender fight. And it was real. It was a thing that commentators spoke of. It wasn't some uh amorphous. It wasn't just some like weird idea that like, oh, is he or isn't he or whatever. No, you had two dudes like Benson Henderson fighting
Clay Guida.
um, Clay Guida. And it was expressly called by the commentating team a number one contender matchup. Not a contenders fight, not who's going to be the elite, but it was a defined thing. Number one contender, the guy who is going to fight, because that's what we understand the pecking order of this division to be.
Yeah.
That does not happen anymore.
Oh.
Doesn't happen. The only way that happens is when an interim belt is on the line. And yeah, I think the only way that Whitaker ever sees Izzy across the cage again is if somehow he fights his way into a number one contender fight and ends up with that interim belt again to be a
That's
two-time reigning interim champion.
that's the thing. It's specifically because you've got him now fighting Costa in this third fight. Izzy's like, okay, I just flawlessly obliterated Costa, and
It makes no sense.
it doesn't. It's just like from Izzy's
He's,
perspective, you're like, you keep serving me the same two guys that I just beat at
he
middleweight.
should have fought. I think that Vittori would have made more sense.
Yeah,
Granted, not from a star power thing. Costa is
this
just
is a
marketable as all hell.
it's a fresh face, and he has a history with Vittori.
Yep.
So that's why it really sucks for those guys, for Whitaker and Costa, but those guys to me are just facing a no-win situation. Now, I still think that Till or Vittori does something spectacular. They either one of them get a really spectacular win or knockout or something. Then you could talk about like Izzy could catch their eye because Izzy was been talking about Till. But I don't know, something about their fighting styles doesn't. I'm not seeing some spectacular, crazy knockout from either one of those guys. That looks like a hard fought decision, probably.
Yeah. Well, let's get the odds and ends out of here because your boy's got a German test due at 11:59.
Oh, nice.
So let's do the odds and ends. We'll get out of here. Mario Yamasaki apparently returns to MMA in 2021. When I initially pulled this, I thought they were talking about Steve Mazzagatti, who got banished to the Shadow Realm and never was to return. But Mario Yamasaki plans to return to MMA refereeing. I guess when I'm thinking about it, I haven't seen him in a while, but was there like an inciting incident
Yeah.
that sent him away?
Yes, there was. I had to look into this because I was like, man, he has been gone for a while. When was the last time he ref? It was when they let Valentina Shevchenko murder that girl in her flyweight debut. Uh,
Oh, and he
and
wanted to let her be a
let her
warrior.
be a warrior. That
Oh,
that incident
ooh, that's
afterwards,
man.
Dana, that was in 2018 or 19, I believe, 2018, I think.
Oh,
That incident afterwards, Dana was like, no, 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 you're out of here. And even in this returning thing, he says like, Mario Yamasaki's like, I got a couple businesses and stuff. I do reffing as a hobby, and he was like, I do not expect to ref in the UFC when I return. I'm expecting like I'll be reffing in Bellator or PFL or something. So don't expect to see Mario Yamasaki back in the UFC anytime soon with his
oh,
warrior spirit.
that is a level of regrettable quote
Dude.
on par with like these things sometimes happen in MMA. and
Yeah.
and like certain people's bombastic ramblings about Rousey's chances in a men's bantamweight contest.
Boxing Floyd Mayweather.
Boxing Floyd Mayweather. Damn, dude. All
Yeah.
right. Well, um, happy to see a Yamasaki. Let's hope more people a warrior or whatever. You weirdo.
Yeah.
Fucking oh my god, it's not the Kumite, dog. Um Jake Paul, Ben Askren. This is a sham.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
It's a disaster.
It's
After
like it's
watching it,
like even more of a sham. It's like even more of a sham because it's not. It's the type of shit like Jake Paul's got to know what he's doing. Like he knows he's triggering the MMA community by being like, well, boxing's just more of a science, and like the MMA guys, like they just can't box. Like they just can't box. As it's it's like, okay, well, you picked out a guy whose like entire career was being a dominant wrestler
Dude, this is
who just like not only a retired fighter, but like a dude who is a year removed from a hip replacement.
this is all a shit show scam. Because even after I knew it was a scam going into it, after I watched Ben Askren's interview with Ariel, I even it was made beyond without a shred of doubt how much of a sham this is. Ben Askren is not even cleared off of this hip surgery yet. Goes and watches a video of John Wayne Parr sparring, and it's like, "Oh, didn't you just have a hip surgery?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, my doctor told me I wasn't supposed to go back to sparring yet." And he's like, "Yeah, fuck that doctor." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna do it." So, so Ben Askren, who was like, "Yeah, I've gained a lot of weight because I haven't been working out, and I haven't been doing anything with this hip surgery. I'm not supposed to be working out yet because I still have a bad hip." But Jake Paul came to me and was like, "Hey, I'm going to offer you more money than you've ever made for an MMA fight to come box me." Ben Askren knows damn well that this is no good. I mean, his whole explanation of being like, Ariel's like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, dude, I'm making so much money. This guy's never fought a uh, real athlete before, or a real, and I'm like, "You're not a real boxer. You're like notoriously one of the worst boxers in all of MMA." And it's very clear to me that Ben Askren's like, "Yo, dog, I've been knocked out on the grandest scale ever. I don't give a shit about going out there and looking like a
It
fool
really
when I get
does not
knocked out.
matter.
He is
It
out there
just so
to make money."
it is such a dude. The Jake Paul thing is just such garbage.
Yes,
It's just such garbage, and
he's found a
it's
way to
gonna
make
sell a
it all a
ton.
spectacle. It's
It is
just
gonna be a
spectacle.
spectacle. It makes no sense. It is not. It's one of those things where like Jake Paul, it's one of the infuriating things because Jake Paul gives the answer of like, well, I just like boxing more. It's more of a science, and MMA is more like a street fight. That's why I do it. And it's like, well, no, because like even with Ben Askren's ruined hip in MMA,
Oh, it's a
Ben
different story.
Askren, Ben Askren would just like
Yes,
ragdoll him.
yes,
It's yeah, it's one of those things where like, yeah, no, of course they don't want to take MMA fights. Like, of course Jake and Logan Paul don't want to take MMA fights because there's real risk involved.
yep.
This they get to fight guys who like this isn't even building boxers at this point.
No,
This is
it's
just
all
picking dudes that they know specifically the risk is so low.
that's it. They're taking the Chael approach, right? None of this stuff has any actual meaning or weight behind it. These guys are picking who is the person with the biggest height, the biggest name, that's the easiest fight, and then that's the real. Oh God. All right. Yeah. Fuck that fight.
Well, yeah, dude, it's God. I just am not. I I watched the last one because it was Mike Tyson was on there, and I wanted to see that.
Yeah.
This, I'm pretty certain I'm not watching it.
No, MMA fans
I'm
will
like
not bring Ben
99%
Askren
sure
back
I'm
to
not
it.
going to watch this fight. Last but not least, and really, dude, I got 9 minutes before I got to turn this shit in. So,
Don't worry, we
uh,
won't talk about her very long.
no,
Uh,
no, dude, what a sad. I just think it's sad, man. I really do. I don't. I think she has some of the worst luck.
mhm.
Um, and I mean, like, it's true. Former,
That's
former
it. The
champion.
former champion is like just laughable. Former champion aspect of this is so illegitimate, but it's like whatever, fine. I just couldn't believe she's still in the UFC. There's no way that she's still in the UFC after this, right? Like guaranteed they cut her for sure, right?
I mean, she has. I mean, yeah. Well, how many fights
Never. She's never fought.
sidelined? What? Okay, so let's just go through this real quick. Um, Hold neurologist as part of his free. Oh my god.
Oh, there we go. Hasn't fought since July of 2019. She lost to Pena. I don't even remember that. Oh, wait a minute. And that was her first fight back in nearly 2 years. So that was it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
No, that makes sense. Get out of here. I don't know how the fuck she's still in the UFC.
is that where Juliana Pena?
I don't know. They both suck.
Yeah, this is former flyweight champion, right?
Yeah, she changed weight classes because of the weight cutting issues.
Pena did.
No, what's her name did?
She
Uh,
went to 35 as well.
yes, yes.
I'm wondering why. I'm wondering why Pena isn't still at flyweight.
I don't know. Most of those girls probably don't want to fight Shevchenko, but you don't have much better choice at 35 either, do you?